Good afternoon, and welcome to the Information Days call for proposal for joint cluster initiatives for Europe's recovery, breakout session, adopt processes and technologies to reinforce transformation into a greener and more digital economy. My name is Raul Zaharie. I am a project officer working at EISMEA, and today, together with my colleague, Ms. Marta Massana Bataya, will be presenting and moderating the present breakout session. Before delving into the subject, I would like to reiterate the breakout session's rules of participation in order to ensure a smooth process, as well as several alternatives of having your queries answered. So I kindly ask you to keep your microphones mute and your cameras off during the meeting. Should you wish to participate and interact with other participants, please use the chat that is available on the right side of your screen and select session before you type your message. Please note that this webinar is being recorded. All questions asked via the chat will be answered to the extent it is possible during this session. And in any case, written answers will also follow up via email if on specific cases, or via the FAQ session in the funding and tenders portal if they are of general interest. Please be reminded that alternatively to the chat, you can pose your questions to us by the email displayed on the screen. And in such cases, your questions will be answered in the coming days, but not during this session. However, in order to provide you with a thorough and quick answer, I kindly ask you to submit your questions as specific as possible in relation to the session subject. And if you have any technical difficulties, please contact the organizers via the email romain.charles@eu-sm.eu. Altogether, I wish you a fruitful and clarifying participation. Ms. Pataya, you have the floor now.
Thank you very much, Raul. I will try my best to share the screen to show you the presentation that we have prepared for you today. Let me know if you can see my presentation.
Yes, it's visible.
Okay, so in this session, what we are going to discuss is objective number 3, which is linked to the adoption on processes of technologies. And as we have put it here on the slide, the main goal of this objective is to adopt processes and technologies to reinforce the transformation into a greener and more digital economy. So as you have seen today, especially during the first introduction of our acting director, Ulla Engelmann, but also what perhaps you have been hearing from the European Commission since the new, let's say, mandate that we have under Ursula von der Leyen, is that we have two big strategies. We have the strategy that is linked to the Euro Fit for the Digital Age, which is promoting digitalization, not only of our businesses, but also of our society and our industry. And on the other side, we have the European Green Deal, which is going towards a more green and sustainable economy. So these two strategies are very much linked together with the recovery phase, which, as all of you know, that this is one of the reasons what we created EUROCLUSTERs, to support cluster organizations, but at the end of all, SMEs, to become more resilient and to recover from this crisis that all of us we are facing. So together with the green, digital and resilience, what we want is to support at the end of all businesses to adopt these technologies, but having in mind this green and digital perspective. So this is the main objective that you can see that we have included on the session 3 on this objective, and this is what we hope and we aim that you will have in mind when you will draft your proposal and your call. So, as a main action, here I have listed, and you can also go and check on our call for proposals. Now I will be talking on the section 3, which is on page 11, and here we have the mandatory action, which says foster the implementation of business processes innovations tied to the adoption of technologies that help SMEs to meet the requirements for a successful greener and digital transition. Here, our main goal is to support SMEs, and mainly to support traditional SMEs, which we know for the fact that they are the ones that perhaps are more reluctant or they face more challenges to adopt digital technologies. So what we aim is that you work on supporting these businesses to innovate and to adopt these technologies, but having in mind what I was previously mentioning, this green and digital perspective. These, we believe, that will, at the end of all, help those businesses to become more resilient. And in case we will, and we do not want it, but in case there are other type of crises to face, those businesses will become more resilient. So please keep in mind, this is the main and mandatory action for this part. As a potential action, so actions that we believe that can support you to achieve these mandatory actions. I have listed here, and we will go through one of each, and in case you have further questions later on, we can address it on the question part. But well, as a main, for instance, potential actions, we have listed provide technical assistance to clusters to tackle and identify needs within a specific industrial ecosystem, work across them, and to find joint solutions. So help clusters for instance, here we listed a different group of examples of for technical assistance that can be on supporting or developing business models, sustainable business models, tapping into sustainable investments, greening business processes, developing environmentally friendly products and services. As you can see, what we also want is somehow that you have in mind of utilizing digital technologies and advanced technologies that can eventually go towards a more sustainable economy and greener industries. Another example is support SMEs on their digital transition. As I was mentioning, most of the traditional SMEs, they face difficulties on becoming more digital. So we want you to support those SMEs to make this change, to understand that by becoming more digital, they can be more competitive and more resilient on the long term. Connect clusters and companies to the, for instance, European digital events, so other relevant support networks such as EN. We want you to connect the cluster and companies with other organizations and institutions, because we know support and succeed on is to develop and increase the uptake of advanced technologies by SMEs and members of clusters. Again, we want you to increase, we want that European economy more and more increase the adoption of new technologies, because we know for the fact that this supports and improves our economy. Facilitate the products by pulling support, supply and demand. Here, what we want for you is to identify together with the cluster members specific opportunities. The green transition, such as improving resource efficiency, sustainable practices, and commitment to adaptation. Other examples that we have included here as an actions is identify and exchange best practices on boosting the resilience and green and digital transformation of SMEs. So it is important that you exchange best practices because every single region or every single cluster organization or every single member of your consortium has different experience, and we believe that by learning from one to each other can support the end result of giving help to those SMEs. So this, we believe, that is also quite key and relevant. Offer green track services to SMEs and members of clusters. So again, is going towards this green area economy. Develop and implement support measures to transform digital, measures for digital transformation, digital tools, digital training, digital expertise. promote among industry the use of digital strategic foresight, and then monitoring tools. Here also why we included this is that by you trying to make kind of a list of the type of goals that you want to implement, and to thinking forward on how this will improve or worsen on the long run, and monitoring these will help you to understand if you are achieving the goals or not. So doing a digital strategic foresight is also quite relevant on this phase. Support clusters to upgrade their business services provision in the field of digitalization. This is quite clear. Connect and develop business service to help companies to progress on the IT transition and IT-based smart manufacturing. This is in the case of that you touch upon these specific, as advanced manufacturing technologies. Map out any potential digital competences or innovation background of clusters. Provide awareness raising on digital transformation opportunities. Also, this is quite important for those traditional SMEs, and initiate new and reinforce existing public-private partnerships, PPPs, for boosting digital and advanced technologies value chains and technology platforms. These are the list of actions that we proposed as potential actions, but again, please have in mind that the mandatory action is the fostered implementation of business processes on SMEs. So as I was saying, so that's the main goal. So business process innovations adapted in the industrial ecosystems, that's the main deliverable, and that's what we are going to expect from you. So when we are going to analyze your proposals, we will go through, and on the section 3, this is what we are going to evaluate. When we are going to KPIs, so here and you will see on the call that we have established a list of KPIs that are linked to each of the different 5 parts of the call. And on the section 3, which is the adoption of the process and technologies, we have a compulsory KPI, which is the number of SMEs supported which undertook business process innovations tied to technological adoption, leading to a higher sustainability and digitalization. So again, it is quite clear. What we aim is that you can tell us the number of SMEs that you have been helping to go through this business process innovation. One thing that perhaps, we have included on the call, but I want to make it very, very clear, is that what we do not intend, and we are very much aware that we do not have budget for that, is that you finance the support of SMEs adopting advanced technologies. So you finance, for instance, the adoption of a AI application. No, there is no budget for that. What we want for you is that you raise awareness about the possibility of utilizing an artificial intelligence tool or application that eventually, on the long run, that SME will utilize for selling new products, services, or to change their business process innovation. So just please keep in mind, and we also have it included on our call, that this is not what we expect. We expect that you raise awareness on this. As I recommended, so we have also listed a list of KPIs that we believe that can be helpful for you just to measure, to monitor the development of your proposal. And here are the following. So a number of projects based on a specific need selected for the technical assistance, number of SMEs that have received the knowledge training in each clusters, added value, total investment generated also as a percentage of compared to this actions budget, quantitative reduction on GHG emissions, international standards of measures have to be applied here, quantitative reduction in the use of resources, energy, water, materials. Other KPIs are the number of green products and services commercialized under the legal binding contracts, number of support projects launched that foster the digital transformation, a digital transition among clusters and their members, especially SMEs, number of business and SMEs directly benefited from services offered through the project, and lastly, expect increase in the uptake of digital solutions, progress in digitalization, number of digital solutions developed and brought to the market. So these are the KPIs that we have listed for you that we believe that can be useful for the call. And from my side, this was what we wanted of what we intend or what we aim to see on this section of the call. But now I would like to give you the floor in case you have questions, and yes, the floor is yours. So I do not know, Raúl, if you can perhaps tell me more or less the questions that we have so far, and if I can answer to all of them.
Yes, there is already a question from
Okay.
Miss Prima, sorry.
Mm-hmm.
If you just raise awareness of a tool, how can we demonstrate that the company has undertaken and adopted it in its operations? So does it count to the KPI if we tell a company about some tool platform, or do they have to start using it too?
Okay, so one thing, yes, indeed. I mean, one thing is that what you say is like raising awareness and that they just are aware, and the other one is like going into the development of an AI application. Yes, I mean, there is an exercise in between, which means that SME needs to start the process of adopting that technology. So, and also we know that perhaps during this period of time when you start and you contact the SMEs, perhaps you cannot go through, but yes, indeed, there should be an action of starting from the part of SME of adopting that technology. Yes, and this is on the cost of the SME, so it's not going to be funded on here. Yeah.
All right, next question. How should we address green and digital transition in digital clusters, for instance, where SMEs are mostly providing services and developing software? Can these SMEs just become enablers of this transition in other more traditional sectors?
Okay, so one thing that for us is also very much important on the part of digitalization and on the digital clusters, for instance, is that digitalization and this needs to take into account also the sustainability. So digitalization of different for instance, different technologies. Some of the digital technologies utilize lots of energy, for instance, right? So what we also want is that this digitalization has this sustainability component, which means that some of the technology perhaps that you might have now needs to be rethinked or not taken into consideration on this call. And just when you said here that can these SMEs just become enabler of this transition in other more traditional sectors, yes, indeed, yes. I mean, what we also want is that those more traditional sectors that has not been so far keen on adopting digital technologies to get into the loop and to become also part of this transformation.
Okay, there is one more question. What are the expectations for proposals in strand electronics or digital that are industries already strongly digitized?
On these industries, again, that are strongly digitized, we also want you to take into account the component of European Green Deal, because some of the sectors that are strongly digitized, perhaps they do not take enough into account the greening perspective, the sustainability and competitiveness. So we also want you to take this into account. It cannot be digitalized for the sake of digitalization. No, it needs to take into account the component of greening. So as I was mentioning, it's not only digitalization, is also the greening perspective. So it is very important, this.
Okay, these are all. Yeah, just came another one. The voucher and grants should finance then services delivered by other organizations, like mentioning training, participation to events, etc. Can the partnership design activities with the grants amount dedicated to SMEs if it will directly deliver some of those services?
This is a very good question. I don't know, Raul, if
I think we'll leave this question that it will be answered in the FAQs of the funding and tenders portal, considering this is of a more general interest, so to speak.
yeah.
One question more. Which fundings, in your opinion, would be the most suitable for SMEs in the next step of implementing the next tech? Not, of course, a black and white question, but do you have any ideas?
This actually, Michael, is a question that we could not answer to you because somehow we would give you an advantage on that part. I believe that we cannot give you an answer on which are the most suitable for SMEs, which fundings. This it depends on your proposal.
All right. For the moment, there are no more questions coming. I suggest we still wait a bit.
Yes.
Otherwise, in the meantime, I assume the participants will take advantage of posting their questions by the email.
Yes, yes. Also, for on the Q&A section, if you have any other further question that perhaps is out of now, or you think about later on, we very much encourage you to send those questions. And actually, what I'm gonna do now is to send you here the email address in case you have you want to contact us. But please go to the most frequently asked questions, because there is when we are going to put all the answers and everybody will be able to read those questions. And in the meantime, I see that Laura, she posted a question.
Yes, in the general intro, it was mentioned that in this objective, partnering, I assume, with tertiary sector was required. Do these types of actors need to be included in the consortium? I believe that everything is mentioned in the section 6 of the call for proposals, the eligibility. So I can redirect you and invite you to find the information there.
In the meantime, I have included here, if you have any further question, you can send it to this, which is the functional mailbox of the call. But again, we will be on the coming days uploading on the most frequently asked questions, all the questions that we will be receiving today. We will be answering them. So we very much encourage you to also constantly check this section.
There are no more questions for the moment, but I'm still waiting. It's a lot of writing, I think, for them, yes. Okay, if I'm not wrong, we cannot include direct vouchers to develop, implement new technological solutions to SMEs. Is this okay? Again, I think the answer can be found actually in the call for proposals, in the eligibility and the criteria and the section 2.5.
Yeah.
Okay, next questions. As the project partners cannot provide the support services directly to third parties, does it mean that we have to individuate the external providers to do it? And if so, shall we already nominate them in the project?
Again, all of these questions that are perhaps here, what we aim the session, it was to just talk about the part of adoption processes and technologies. So these what are linked with project partners and so on, these we strongly encourage you to put it and to post these questions either on the email address I sent it on the most or on the most frequently asked questions, because these are more linked to the first part of the discussions that we have today on the info days. And if they were not answered there, we will have it answered on the most frequently asked questions section.
If I'm not mistaken, Ms. Krakowiak is referring to subcontracting.
To subcontracting, but on the part of...
So, well, I can give the answer right now. Sorry,
she says
so
no.
it's not. Okay, then we will take the question into account and we'll answer it in the FAQs.
Yeah. In this regard, Marta, the other Marta Caruda, she's the one in charge of telling you more in detail how it works, this section.
Okay, next one. Does the potential actions have to be fulfilled by the consortium, or can we subcontract some of these actions?
The main actions, what Marta Caruda was saying at the beginning of the call, is that the main actions are strongly encouraged and that you are the ones running it, not subcontracted. Because then at the end of all, what we know from experience is that somehow you lose control. And when they are the core actions, it's good to have them and to develop them by the consortium, not by subcontracting.
For further information, you can refer actually to Article 6 and Article 9.3 in the grant agreement, the general grant agreement.
Yeah, thanks, Raul.
For the next question, we are focused on resource efficiency, mainly promoting innovative solutions, and digitalizations will have a relevant role, but we have doubts about Objective 2, Innovate, and Objective 3. Do we have any recommendations we could be on the two objectives?
These, Marisa, I would give you the answer to you. If I give you the answer to your questions, I give you an advantage on that. And we need to be as much neutral as possible. But yes, indeed, yes, digitalization is playing a key role on resource efficiency. So try to be innovative on how to better frame this section.
Okay, next question. If we would like to offer innovation vouchers to prototype the new products to SMEs, we shall individuate already the facility or technology entity like DIH that can offer such a technology or facility, or we can do it on the later stage?
It depends on you, but I mean, as we said, we aim to, that you have cooperation with other institutions that are, for instance, part of the European Commission, such as digital innovation hubs. So we want you to cooperate with them. So if you can do it, Marta, yes, just go for it.
All right. Next question. The proposal says, page 11, actions will not be to fund the purchase and installation of advanced tech, but could be launch a voucher to foster digitalization that allows SME to launch new innovative solutions.
Juanjo, if you have the budget to do it, welcome. If you have the capacity, but as we per se, it was not designed, let's say, to somehow purchase the installation of advanced technologies. But if you have already done such a work that can allows you to make this happen, yes, it's at the end of all, if you think about it, what we aim is that SMEs adopt new technologies. So if you can do it, by more than welcome.
Okay, so the next question. So if we normally charge for some of the core actions, is this still okay? I guess the companies were not supposed to use the grant money for the consortium own services. In principle, core actions are not to be subcontracted. So according to the grant agreement, you are allowed to subcontracting part of the task that you mention in your proposal, but not the core tasks. As to give you an example, the consortium's coordinator cannot subcontracting the project management's task in terms of reporting and so on and so forth.
Yes.
Okay, so unfortunately, the session will close. Thank you very much for your participation, and I wish you a very fruitful continuation in the stage section then.
Good luck, everyone.
Thank you. Have a nice
Bye-bye.
day. Bye.